Hi, welcome to this podcast where we will explore and examine various thought-provoking books to identify their contents, deep meaning, and purposes, transferring them into practical applications for everyday living. Welcome. We will identify their primary attributes, relevance, and application in our lives. So this month's book is entitled The Courage to Be Happy, which is a self-help book by Ishiro Kamishi and Fujima Konga that serves as a sequel to The Courage to Be Disliked. It explores themes of positive psychology, self-reliance, and the importance of love in achieving true happiness. So why did I choose this book? So I listen, like most people, to a lot of podcasters, and one of them mentioned this book. And he was talking about trauma and how one psychologist, Adler, actually had a different view on trauma than Freud. And so I thought, gee, that's an interesting topic. I'd like to explore it. So that's the reason why I chose to read this book. And I actually read the other one, the sequel, the first one, on The Courage to Be Disliked. But I wanted to share this one, The Courage to Be Happy, because I really felt that the themes in this book were really relevant. It's really relevant. So that's why I chose to read this Adlerian Psychology, which really is applicable for educators, parents, and any person who wants to better understand human behavior. So basically, the book is set up in such a way that it's written in a Socratic discussion between a youth and a philosopher. The philosopher obviously is an older gentleman, and the youth, through Socratic discussion, asks the philosopher questions. And through the discussion and the questions and answers, we learn about Adlerian psychology and basically its techniques, its precepts, and its tenets. So today we're going to look at 10 takeaways and 11 overarching themes. So let's look at the first 10 takeaways. Happiness is a choice, not a result. So the book asserts that happiness is not something that happens to you as a result of external circumstances, but a choice you make. You have the power to decide to be happy regardless of life's challenges. He says that happiness is an inside job. It comes from how you think and how you relate to others, not from things or achievements. This shift is in perspective is essential for lasting fulfillment. So a lot of times people are waiting to become happy, but actually happiness is a decision, it's a choice. You choose to be happy right now, today. It addresses how we often see ourselves as victims of circumstances. It challenges this mindset and encourages readers to take responsibility for their actions and happiness rather than blaming external forces. And a lot of times people will say that. I'll be happy when I achieve this goal, or I'll be happy if I live in this place. But really, happiness is something you can achieve even now, today. The second takeaway is that to have the courage to be yourself. A major point in the book is that authenticity is key to happiness. Many people struggle with their desire for approval and fear of being judged. The courage to be happy involves rejecting the need for validation from others and embracing who you truly are. And he spends a lot of time in the book talking about really just being who you are, valuing who you are, and not looking for other people to validate you. And so that's why it says that the courage to be happy. It takes courage. The book encourages the reader to embrace their individuality and to be courageous in living a life that aligns with their values rather than conforming to society's expectations or seeking constant approval from others. And I know I've been really trying to adopt this mindset and thinking, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to have the courage to be who I am and not try to be something or someone that other people would like me to be. The book argues against the traditional methods of using rewards and punishments, so it goes on to talk about education and in the educational setting, and this another reason that drew me to the book. And it says basically rewards and punishments as tools for growth don't work. It suggests that such methods only reinforce dependency and limit personal empowerment. And the book talks a lot about respecting others And basically, we'll talk a little bit more about this, but that as an educator, a teacher, you really need to, first and foremost, respect your students. That means you accept them the way they are, you value them, and through that respect, you actually are fostering self-resilience in your students. And so it really comes from the teacher first. If you respect the students, they will respect you. This third takeaway, the importance of contribution to others. And this is really one of Alder's key precepts, is that he talks a lot about community. And in this book, it's interspersed throughout all the different chapters, how important community is. And here he talks about the importance of contribution to others. So listen to what he says here. True happiness, according to Alderian psychology, comes from contributing to the well-being of others. The book discusses how human beings are social creatures and that being genuinely kind, helpful, and engaged in the community contributes to personal fulfillment. This is so true. Many people struggle with depression or feelings of inadequacy or just whatever causes them to feel despondent. And the research really shows that the minute you think about somebody else, the minute you do something for someone else, all of that dissipates. And so this is what this psychologist found. He said, think about contributing to the welfare of others. He says here, the act of giving without expecting anything in return, even recognition, leads to deeper satisfaction and a sense of purpose. So we don't live our lives looking for people to affirm us. We actually spend our lives looking to whom we can recognize, whom we can affirm. If you adopt this, if you practice this, you'll notice a real change in how you're interacting with people and how they interact with you. He says it explores the shift from competition to cooperation. True happiness, he says, according to the book, arises from working together and building meaningful, supportive relationships, not from competing for recognition. This is such a key thing. Stop looking for recognition and start giving recognition to the people around you. Look for ways to affirm people around you. Then the book talked a lot about this a concept of tasks. And Alderian psychology talks about separation of tasks. So let me give you a quick overview of what that means. Everyone has a task to do. You have your task and other people have their task. And he calls it a separation of tasks, meaning you can't do things that other people have to do, and they can't do things that you should be doing. So you have to let people do what they have to do. You can't force them. You have to let them. So one of the core Alderian ideas discussed in the book is the separation of tasks, distinguishing what is your responsibility from what belongs to others. When we try to control or worry about others, such as their emotions or behaviors, we rob ourselves of peace and happiness. It's true. You cannot make other people do things you want them to do, even if you know and think that's the right thing to do. He says, by focusing only on your own task, you free yourself from unnecessary anxiety and can live more harmoniously with others. This is such a key point. So 5, facing the fear of rejection. Like I said, he talks a lot about this. The fear of rejection often keeps people from pursuing their own happiness or from doing what they truly desire. The book teaches that the courage to be happy involves facing rejection without letting it define your self-worth. Yes, when you are true to yourself, when you do what you believe is true, when you follow your values, when you're authentic, there will be people that will not like you. There will be people that will not value you. But it's okay to be rejected because you're still being true to who you are. It's essential, he says, to realize that not everyone will approve of you, and that's okay. The fear of rejection is something you must confront head on as it holds you back from living a fulfilling life. And it goes back to that first book, the courage to be disliked. So it's okay. There are some people that just will not like you, but that's okay. You want to be authentic. 6, living in the present, not the past. So this is where he talks about childhood traumas, and that we really do not have to be bound by them. And the book goes into detail, really a lot, in terms of how do you make meaning from your past will define how you see your present and how you realize your future. So really, he talks a lot about finding some way of making a positive meaning in your past so it can really inform your presence. The author stresses that many people get stuck in their past experiences, whether that's childhood trauma, past failures, or regret. To experience true happiness, he says, one must live in the present moment and focus on the actions you can take now rather than being bogged down by past events or guilt. Your past does not determine your future. Your current mindset and choices do. And so many people are stuck in their past. And this is where he's different than Freud. Freud would have you focus on your past, but Adler said, no, your past does not have to define you. You can be whoever you choose to be. You don't have to say, well, this happened to me, so now I can't do X, Y, and Z. You can be whomever you choose to be. Number 7, happiness comes from interpersonal relationships. Once again, this whole concept of community. Healthy relationships are vital for happiness. Yes, the book discusses how human beings are naturally interdependent, and being able to form meaningful, positive relationships with others is key to experiencing a joyful life. Yes, we've seen so much research on this entire concept, and I wanted to mention once again the Grant study. It's a Harvard Grant study, longitudinal study that showed, and they followed people right up to their old age, and they found that the people that had the strongest relationships, whether it's family, friends, a strong knit community, lived the longest and the most healthiest. So really the key, because we're social beings, we need to be around other people and have positive interpersonal relationships. He says here, understanding that life is about giving and receiving love rather than seeking it from a place of need leads to healthier, more fulfilling connections with others. So maybe you find yourself, maybe you're in a situation where you don't have a lot of friends. I would encourage you to reach out and make friends. Do something for someone else. Just that whole concept, you'll gain community and you'll gain friends. He goes on here, another takeaway is living without expectations, which is really hard to do. Many people tie their happiness to meeting certain expectations or achieving particular goals. The book suggests that letting go of expectations frees you from anxiety and disappointment. Instead, you can pursue your goals with joy and enthusiasm, independent of any desired outcome. So, like I said, if you have an idea, if you have a dream, if you have a vision, just go ahead and follow that. And it's okay if it doesn't come to pass. The process, really, the journey, really is the gift. This approach encourages living for the sake of the process itself rather than focusing solely on the end result. This is a hard one to do, but that's where you'll find true happiness, when you focus on the process itself. Number 9, overcoming the desire for perfection. The pursuit of perfection is a barrier to happiness. The book encourages readers to embrace imperfection and let go of unrealistic standards. Striving to be perfect can create stress, while accepting your flaws allow you to live more authentically and happily. So we learned that we just have to be ourselves, and it's okay if we make mistakes. Last month we learned about weaknesses, and weaknesses actually can be really good. And I actually heard someone discussing difficulties and challenges, and we were talking about how when you do struggle, when you do have mishaps, you actually become less shallow of an individual. You have more empathy. Number 10, self-realization and personal growth. True happiness, he says, comes from personal growth and self-realization. Understanding yourself, your purpose, and living in alignment with your values. So once again, know who you are. The book promotes the idea that each person has a potential for growth and that pursuing personal development can lead to greater happiness, and even if it involves stepping out of your comfort zone. Remember, we talked about risks. So now let's look at the overarching themes and how all of these work together. So he talks a lot about love, and in a marriage situation or any kind of relationship, and that basically it can be accomplished by two people. And he has a unique theory. He says you can be happily married to anyone. He said you don't have to find your soulmate. You don't have to wait for that destined individual. He said that you can make any marriage with two people are committed to one another, and he gives some like ground rules. You can make any marriage a great marriage, which I thought was really interesting. He says love is built, not found, by waiting for that destined individual. It requires active effort and commitment from both parties involved. Unlike the popular notion of falling in love, Adlerian psychology views love as a conscious choice and a collaborative endeavor. So two people have the same aim, that marriage is going to work. It's going to be strong. This perspective shifts the focus from passive reception to active participation in creating and maintaining a loving relationship. So then he goes on, what are the key aspects of love as a task? Remember we talked about tasks? So each partner has a task. And so now we're going to go into what are those tasks? Mutual effort and dedication, conscious decision-making, continuous growth and development, and shared responsibility for the relationship's success. That's how you can have a successful marriage. And you don't have to wait for that destined individual. He says, love is not about finding the perfect person or waiting for destiny to intervene. It's about two individuals choosing to work together to create a meaningful and fulfilling connection. This approach empowers people to take control of their relationships and actively contribute to their success. So he talks, like I said, a lot about love. The next overarching theme is self-reliance is breaking away from self-centeredness. So basically, he discusses a lot about getting out of this self-centeredness mindset. And that's how we, like I said, really, if you want to be happy, you have to stop dwelling in a self-centered mindset. He says redefining independence. True self-reliance goes beyond financial independence or the ability to perform tasks alone. It involves a fundamental shift in one's worldview, moving from self-centered perspective to a more community-oriented mindset. This transformation, he says, is essential for personal growth and meaningful relationships. So once again, you want to be happy. It's all about the courage to be happy. You have to be other-centered. You cannot just be thinking about yourself. Steps towards self-reliance, recognizing and challenging self-centered thoughts and behaviors, developing empathy and consideration for others, taking responsibility for one's actions and choices, and contributing to the community and society at large. So always be thinking about where can I contribute? What can I do? How can I offer help? Where can I be useful? By breaking away from self-centeredness, he says, individuals can achieve genuine self-reliance. This process allows for a development of healthier relationships, increased self-awareness, and a more fulfilling life. It's a crucial step in becoming a mature, responsible adult, capable of forming deep connections with others. And I like to say maturity equals other-centered. When I meet people that are other-centered, they're thinking about others, those are mature adults. They're just mature. And that's what the two of them are to go together, maturity and other-centered. The next overarching theme, respect is the foundation of all interpersonal relationships. We talked about this with students. Respect denotes the ability to see a person as he is and to be aware of his unique individuality. And this is like a key piece, respecting people, and all peoples, and especially those that are different from you. Unconditional acceptance. And what does that respect look like? Respect forms the cornerstone of all healthy relationships, whether personal or professional. It involves recognizing and valuing the inherent worth of each individual, regardless of their actions or achievements. This unconditional acceptance creates an environment of trust and openness, fostering genuine connections. So what are the key components of respect? Seeing others as they are, without judgment, acknowledging individual differences and unique qualities, avoiding attempts to change or manipulate others, communicating openly and honestly. So let's look at number 4. Community feeling is inherent in human nature. Once again, we were wired to be, we're social beings, so we need other people. And I know there's a lot right now in the news about loneliness, and it's truly an epidemic. And it's devastating. It's devastating for the elderly and even for the young. So we want to be around people, real flesh and blood. Community feeling is inherent in human nature. Community feeling is always a reflection of the weakness of the body and one from which we cannot be separate. We need other people. Innate social connection. Humans are inherently social beings with a natural inclination towards community and cooperation. This community feeling stems from our physical weakness as individuals and our need for collective support to survive and thrive, looking at history. Recognizing and embracing this innate social nature is crucial for personal well-being and societal harmony. So what does that look like? What does this community feeling manifestations look like? Empathy and concern for others, desire for cooperation, a sense of belonging, and contributing to society. And so he goes on to talk about labor division and how everyone has a job to do. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. And when you do your job and other people do their job, everything runs smoothly. I've been taking some trips and just noticing at an airport, for example, everyone has their job. You know, the pilot has their job, the flight attendant has their job, the baggage handlers have their job. Everyone has to do their job. And if they do it, and they do it well, everything runs smoothly. The next overarching theme is all problems are interpersonal problems. He says relationships are at the core of Adlerian psychology, that the root of all human problems lies in our interactions with others. This perspective shifts the focus from internal psychology to the issues of dynamics in our relationships. So this is a key piece, because a lot of times when we see, especially children, I work with children who have some psychological and emotional challenges, we often say, what's wrong with the child? But we have to look at the whole picture. The child just isn't there by themselves. We have to look at what are the interpersonal relationships that this child has and what's functioning, maybe what's not functioning. So basically, the common interpersonal relationship problems can happen because of communication breakdown, unmet expectations, power struggles and conflicts, the lack of trust or respect. We can see that all problems are interpersonal problems. Number 6, happiness is a feeling of contribution. And now this is where he talks about how we're all wired to contribute something. We all should be contributing wherever we are, whether it's in your home, at your work, in your community. You will feel most fulfilled and most happy when you're contributing, you're giving back, you're doing something. And so he talks here about ways to cultivate a feeling of contribution. Volunteering, supporting friends and family, mentoring and sharing knowledge, creating value through the work or creative pursuits. And as I was reading that, I'm thinking, wow, I'm doing most of these things. And it does bring you happiness knowing that you're doing something, you're making a difference, and you're contributing. By focusing on contribution rather than personal gain, individuals can experience a deeper sense of satisfaction and connection with others. This approach of happiness aligns with the concept of community feelings and encourages a more responsible and compassionate way of living. Yes, find ways you can contribute. I know many people who spend most of their days contributing, whether it's making a meal or visiting people in the hospital, and just volunteering in various settings. They are the most happiest people, the people that are contributing. We already talked a little bit about courage and how it's important that you really can't be yourself. You can't be authentic unless you are courageous. And so let's just quickly go over the aspects of courage in daily life: confronting personal fears and insecurities, making decisions based on one's own judgment, taking risks and embracing uncertainty, standing up for one's beliefs and values. And then in the book, he talks about nothing days. And I wanted to just elaborate a little. And basically what he was saying is that sometimes in life you'll have those nothing days where nothing great is happening. Nobody's patting you on the back. Nobody's applauding what you're doing. But he said that's okay. You can have those nothing days. And even in those nothing days, you can choose to be happy. It's okay. You can choose to be happy, which I thought it was an interesting concept. Number 8, the separation of tasks is crucial for relationships. And this is where he talks about understanding boundaries, understanding and respecting the separation of tasks. I can't do what you're supposed to do, and you can't do what I'm supposed to do, is vital for healthy relationships. It involves recognizing what is within our control and what belongs to others. Okay, this is the key thing. He says here, this principle of separation of tasks helps reduce conflict, resentment, codependency in relationships, and promoting greater autonomy and mutual respect. And here, this really relates to people in relationships. And so it says the key aspects of task separation is identifying your personal responsibilities. What's your part? Respecting others' autonomy and choices. If they choose not to, you can't force them. Focusing on one's own actions and reactions, and avoiding attempts to control and manipulate others. Then he goes on to talk about how praise and rebuke it's really not effective. And really what he encourages, Alderian psychology encourages that you want to build self-reliance in students. And the way you do that is by respecting them. And then he encourages different educational approaches. For example, having the students do self-evaluation, focusing on effort and progress, promoting cooperation instead of competition, creating a supportive, respectful environment. And it's interesting, when I was reading that, I did all of that when I was teaching. Number 10, he talks a lot about in terms of division of labor, and we hear about that term, but we don't know what it means. But basically, it means that everyone does a job. They do what they do well, and because they do what they do well, everything runs smoothly. And so it's important that we have division of labor, where everyone does their job. They do what they do well, and so. Number 11 is we choose our early influences shape us. He does talk a little bit about that, how birth order or parental attitudes can influence you. But overarching, he also here has the 5 stages of problem behavior. And so I sent this out because I work in a school and I am working with some children who do have problem behaviors. And the key thing about students with problem behaviors is that everyone's looking for admiration. That's the first stage. There's 5 stages. And because they're looking for admiration and they may not be getting it, the child might be acting out and getting attention in a negative way. And then it becomes a power struggle, and then the child now is angry that they didn't get the attention initially they wanted, and then they act out even more and stop actually, they show incompetence. So that was powerful in terms of understanding problem behavior. So anyway, the courage to be happiness, as an overview, teaches that happiness comes not from external factors, but from within. It emphasizes the importance of authenticity, be yourself, self-acceptance, and contributing. Remember that word, contributing, to the well-being of others as the true key to fulfilling your life. By letting go of the need for approval, accepting imperfections, and living in the present moment, you can experience lasting happiness. So once again, I hope you enjoy this podcast, Purpose, where I share unconventional ideas, information, and research. And today we looked at how to be happy, the courage to be happy, and we looked at Alderian psychology, and we can see that it's very applicable, very useful in your personal life, in your work life, and in your community life. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful month.